Does this song sound familiar to you?
Or maybe this one. Our next guest has not only recorded for these artists, but he is also a renowned songwriter, producer, and integral member of the group Chiiild.
You won't want to miss this. Welcome to Bassbin TV. Here we are. Welcome back to Bassbin TV. And as promised, our special guest, Pierre-Luc Rioux.
What's up, guys?
The man.
Where am I looking? Over there?
You can look.
Yeah.
You can actually.
you
can look at me.
Okay, good.
But
Just a normal conversation that's being filmed.
Perfect.
but you can look there. You can look there. Like sort of like hot wings. That camera. That camera. That camera. That camera. What's on your mind today? Let me start by saying thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
You didn't have to, but I really.
I kind of did. But it's all good. No.
Is there like blackmail involved, Albert?
No. But Albert,
because I would never forgive him.
No. But Albert has been a friend, and he's given me so much that I mean, I was making a joke, but like I had to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we do go way back. The humble beginnings of watching you come into the studios rehearsing, and it was for the pure joy, and obviously it was your passion. It wasn't just your hobby. This was something that was obviously in the cards for you. But did you know at that early age when you'd come in to the studios, braces and all, very young age, how old were you, like 16?
15.
15 years old. Did you know this was going to be your path?
Did I always know? Yeah. So look, it's like a two-pronged answer. So first thing is I remember like from being super young, being completely fascinated with music, just in general. Not necessarily with guitar. It was more like,
right.
I remember I saw Slash on stage, like running from one, like he used to run and doing arenas and stuff. And I saw that on TV and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what I want to do. And I told my mom, like, what would you think if I would play the Forum or the Bell Center one day? Like back then it was the Forum. And she said, well, you know, being a hockey player is kind of really tough. And I was like, no, I mean, as a musician, you know, and it's like, yeah, it was something that was completely foreign to my family. Like nobody plays music. My dad loves music.
Okay, so there's an interest at least.
Yeah, it's from him. Definitely where like he kind of introduced me to music, but he doesn't play music. But then I also love animals. I really, really, like I'm passionate with animal psychology and just animals in general. So I actually wanted to become a veterinarian when I was a kid. And that was my dream. But then in high school, there's a teacher in some class, and he said there was this Greek philosopher that was helping people discover their path, but basically said your path should be where you would serve the most. And to me, that it kind of hit me like it was obvious that it was music.
So what was your first instrument, or what was the first thing that you touched or picked up?
First thing that I touched was guitar.
Okay.
But I always wanted to be a drummer, and I was always passionate with drumming. And then my first band, I was a drummer. Whatever. I had more skill playing guitar.
So now moving from when you said you didn't want to be a veterinarian, or you knew exactly where your purpose was, had you already been playing guitar for a long time before you decided to do that switch?
Well, so yes and no. Like I had been playing guitar, but it's funny because like I was a spiritual person and then I wasn't. It's gonna sound super corny, but it's the truth. One day it happened like almost overnight where I'm not. It's not like miracle or anything, but it's just something clicked in my mind where I became like a lot better, a lot faster. So much so that like when I got to study it for real, because that was just like kind of doing it on my own. I didn't know that people actually would learn songs. Like I would only learn like bits of songs,
Sure.
and technique stuff,
The main riff.
and then do my own songs.
Right.
And I knew like there was a bunch of songs like that people wrote, so I figured, I should write my own songs.
And I think we've had this conversation with a few different people where there are some people that have learned by ear. There are some people that have really, really been schooled. And obviously schooling gives you a little bit of an advantage over the next guitar player that just learned by ear. How did it help you in your career as you were starting to like play with different people that you actually knew what a G minor was as opposed to the next guy?
I played gigs with everybody that knew theory, so it didn't give me any advantage. It just brought me to the level.
Same level.
I was actually disadvantaged because they knew more theory and they knew jazz and they knew like a bunch of stuff that I didn't know. So, which I think in a way is, well, no, I don't think that it's good not to know stuff, but I think that it's hard to unlearn things.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
it's like you have to learn super well. That's why I think kids
Really good point.
should learn music.
Well, they say
really
that
early on.
kids learn music like a language. Like the same way, that's why, when kids are young and you're trying to teach them French and English, Spanish, whatever language it is, they said that children's brains interpret music the exact same way, as if it were a language.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I didn't know that.
So at this point,
Live.
are you playing shows at the same time as getting your education?
At that point, I was touring with this guy called Dr. Draw. He's a violinist from Toronto, and we met like pretty early on, and we were like playing gigs all over the place, like Toronto. Like we toured Canada. We even went to the Middle East. We like a bunch of places, and those were my own parts, and some of them my own songs. Like him and I would co-write and stuff. So. And I was also playing in like clubs, but like house clubs with house DJs, and I was remixing old retro riffs, like so whatever Smoke on the Water or AC/DC or more like whatever Nirvana or whatever on EDM, and so that's what I would do for gigs.
You spent your years as you were basically improving for the most part of your career, and never. And if somebody would tell you, "Hey, man, play me a song,"
I literally
clink, clink,
didn't
clink.
know any songs,
Right?
which sounds crazy.
Which sounds crazy because of where you are now, but like you said, it created a niche for you, and this is what your calling was to actually create these moments in time, these snapshots of moments that would last quite a long time.
How did you navigate that path? Did you have a mentor? Did you have someone you looked up to? How did you figure out your producing path?
I don't know. Just at one point there was a friend of mine that came to my place, and he was trying to show me something that like I recorded something, and he pressed on a button, and then an EQ popped up, and then he EQ'd the track. And I was like, what's that? So I didn't know what an EQ was. I didn't know anything. Like so it's like, whatever. I literally don't know how I
It was just haphazard. It was just
it's
like you
like friends of whatever. It's
Yeah. Now you're at the stage where you said you were starting to learn, and it was sort of like you sort of fell upon it, where you had to produce. Did you start getting equipped after that and said, I think I need to get equipped?
Okay, so here's a story of getting equipped. Just because that's another one of those things that happened that changed my life. I went into, and I had no money.
Right.
I was completely broke. And my buddy owned a music store, and he said, you need to get a thing together, like buy some speakers. And he was actually, that was like so clutch in my life. And he had a store downtown, and he had an empty room. And so he essentially gifted me an empty room to set up a studio.
Nice.
Do as you will.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was because I was in my parents' basement, But then he goes, okay, you have the room, but you need to fill it up with gear. So come to the store. I'll tell you what to buy it, and then start producing, and you'll thank me in 10 years. And so I did, but I had no money, so I put it on the credit card.
Oh, no.
And it was like $5K. But $5K at the point
Back then.
the $5K when you're making zero
Right.
is like, you're jumping kind of blind.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, on my sister's life.
That's serious because we know you love your sister.
Yeah, no, I love my sister dearly. I swear to God, stepped out of the store. Mm-hmm. I got a call. Guy goes, "Hey, what's up? I found you in the union book of musicians."
That never happens.
Yeah. And I'm like, and he goes, "I have a demo that I want to record. Swear to God. It's 10 songs. Are you cool to do them for $500 a song?"
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I didn't know how to
How to
produce or
even
anything,
start.
but I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm like, how did you find me? And it's like, well, I opened up the book and I just called your name. And he's like, he literally like sort of,
What?
yeah.
This gig then, was this kind of your first step into working within the music industry?
Not within the music industry, but definitely my first professional producing gig.
Okay. So, because
Definitely.
you're saying you're like, I have
getting
no
paid.
money. So,
At zero, yeah.
so then what did you do? Were you just doing gigs like this for money? Did
Well,
you
I
get
mean,
a part-time
when I
job?
say no money, what I mean is very, very little money. Like basically, like I was playing gigs and stuff, but it's like when you're, when you're just out of school, I don't know, 22 years
Sure.
old, I don't know, 21, whatever it is.
Still got support from home.
Yeah, definitely, and still live at home.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
And but it's like I'm doing gigs here and there, but it's like nothing to even think how am I going to repay this like
Right.
$5,000 thing.
Right.
But anyways, I paid it almost like in one go with just this one gig, which was completely came out of nowhere. Super weird gig, by the way. Like the guy was just as weird as how he found me. Like it's like that's not how you normally find someone to
Right.
produce your gig. But he completely like kind of saved me, and I guess I have to be super thankful for him, even though he's a weirdo.
And maybe you thanking your friend that you said in 10 years you're going to thank me.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I thank him. I definitely did thank him after 10 years.
Okay, good. Now that you have your little studio set up, you're producing out of this little studio, how long does that last? Because nothing lasts for very long for free.
So that's true. So there's another story of how I went from this place to another place. I went to another place at the time it was called Fly Decibel, and it's a local label, and they had an artist. Okay, so this is for anyone at home. This is another like sort of pivotal moment, and I feel like this is probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life. So I was a guitar player, just a guitar player for this one artist. They had a label backing, but the label was actually like super well set up. They had a great studio, they had artists, and they had funding. And so it was our first performance at a local festival here. And they flew down people from LA and stuff because they wanted, just making the big deal experience.
Some hype.
And it was a really big, and there was a musical director, and it was like the whole crew. And then after that, it was like a long setup, maybe like a week and a half of like preparing the stuff, then the gig, then whatever. And then after the fact, the guy from the label said, "All right, festival's done. It was a great success. Everybody's welcome to come to the studio or the label after for a sort of a meet and greet." And just like kicking it. We've had so much fun.
Sure.
And no one went except me in the band.
So smart to go.
The musical director was like, "Yo, I haven't seen my girlfriend in like a week and a half or whatever. I'm going home." And then this other guy goes, "Oh, I don't know. I have this other thing I got." So when I went to the party, there was these LA dudes, and so I
Come on.
got connected with them in a way, and then that was my entry into that sort of little family thing. And there was a guy in the crew who was sort of a hype man on the show, but he was also like at the label, kind of running things
Right.
internally. So in this new place, it was the whole place, like the whole studio was like not really well kept, like put together and stuff. And there was like this room in the back where it was like filled with like just junk. And the dude, the hype man, the guy that runs the thing, it's a Christmas break, and he goes, "You know what? Everybody's off for Christmas. If you want to fuck around in the studio, here's the keys. Just give me the keys back when we come back from the break, and you can like just make some music here while we're all off."
Generous.
A lot of trust.
So, but I knew him. Like we had
You'd already developed a relationship.
he trusted me, and I wouldn't have I'm a trustworthy person. Like I wouldn't fuck it up, So what I did is I cleaned the whole place, and I emptied the back room, which was just filled with like all kinds of trash. And at one point, in the middle of like the Christmas vacation, the whole studio was like a total mess. Because I was like trying to empty out the place, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna need help. And so I called up some friends, and I cleaned everything. Literally cleaned everything, placed everything. And then there's so much junk that could be organized that this room was actually a usable room.
Right.
And so it's like, so there's an empty room. It's clean. I just moved my shit in there.
You moved it in.
Yeah.
Executive decision.
Yeah. And then
Done.
and then at the end of the Christmas break, on the Sunday before everybody went back to work, I sent an email to everyone. I'm like, hey guys, I cleaned the studio downstairs just as a thank you for letting me use it. And if you visit the back room, just keep an open mind.
I love it.
And so they showed up and they saw
That's the way you do it.
all my gear there. But they were thankful that I had cleaned up the whole place. So they were like, fuck him, let him stay. Who cares?
I mean, it wasn't really being used before.
No,
that,
it wasn't.
so-
It was just like literally like a storage room.
There you go.
So, and
That is awesome.
so the guy, so then I show up, but the guy goes, I can't pay you. Like,
Right.
you can be here, but I can't. And I was like, I didn't ask to be paid. I just asked to. I didn't ask anything actually. I just showed up.
Just want the free room.
But the thing is, if you're there, and shit happens, then people go, hey, by the way, can you like do this real quick?
Yep.
And then you do it. And then I worked there for free, probably for like, I don't know, a couple months, maybe 2 months, 3 months. And then after 3 months, they were like, well, we can't always ask him to work for free. So let's give him like some payroll type thing. It wasn't much, but it was the other sort of.
Sure, let's give him some cash. Let's give him some work.
So basically, best move I ever did. Whenever you can go to the party, go to the party.
Networking is so important.
Right.
I mean, even just me being here
Yeah.
was networking.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Was we just had someone in common, and they said, go talk to Albert.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I experienced that. I ended up going to school for sound engineering, and they would suggest it. People wouldn't go, and I would never understand that. You never know who you can meet. You never know who might have you in mind for a specific project. Go to the networking.
Yeah. No, and it's nerve-wracking when you're like, it's easy to talk when you're in a setup where it's like you're supposed to talk like a podcast, right? But in real life, it's I don't know. For some people, it's very tough to go
Social
out and
anxiety.
stuff. But yeah, man, that's you just need to go.
Well, you're a bit of an introvert in your personal life, but you're quite the extrovert when you're on stage. Do you find that's like your safe place when you were playing live? You literally change into this different person when you're on stage. It's almost unrecognizable.
So I take that as a huge compliment. So thank you. And the thing about that is that it goes back to just like being able to express things that I don't express in real life. And maybe I think if I'm drunk, sometimes some of those things can come out. But like, so basically, like, there's a big sort of wall in between me and the world.
The world.
But when I'm on stage, I feel very free. I feel super at home.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had this crazy experience. I was in a band, and a buddy of mine was on stage with us, and he collapsed. He was an older gentleman, and he had like heart problems and stuff, and he collapsed on stage while we were playing
Orson.
Yeah, Canada Day. And then he got up and he was like, whatever, like, it's all
I'm
good.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And sat down through the rest of the show.
And then he passed away like the next day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And after like that moment completely changed my life in terms of like how I deal with like live gigging. And I took like something like a 4-year hiatus after that.
Off of gigging?
Yeah, because it just like usually when I run, I used to think of playing live, and I was like fish in water, like super, like so when I would visualize stuff or like see myself play. After that day, it never happened again. When I run, I don't see myself playing live.
Did it traumatize you?
Pretty much. I and you know, not to make this story about me, because obviously what happened to Orson is and his family is really sad. But the way that it affected me, it's like I saw a shrink and stuff, and I had panic attacks when I was like playing live and stuff. It was like really hard to go back live, and
it was a trigger.
It made me dive completely into studio life, which is like that was like a huge trigger for that part of my life, sort of working.
If I can ask, was it the event itself? Were you afraid that something might happen to you? Was it just easier to kind of push it away and avoid the situation altogether?
You know, I'm not the push it away type person, but in that case, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know why. And you know, it wasn't just me on stage. There was a bunch of people, and everybody like went to their gigs the next day, and they were totally fine. Not totally fine in the sense,
obviously crushed.
Yeah, crushed by that. But in their careers, it didn't affect them in terms of the way that, or they didn't seem to affect them. In my case, it really like changed my life completely. It changed the way that I approached the stage. And the reason why I went back to playing live is because I took this hiatus that was so long. I felt like the thing that I had to give that was the most precious was playing live, because I do feel like I have something to give there. And I also just wanted to get over that hump of like, that anxiety that came with it. And now I think I'm back. I think it's like, but I only play with my Chiiild project.
Yes. So before you go back to now, we were talking about you playing live on stage with Chiiild. Obviously, that's a big part of what your career is now. Before that, you have some amazing artists that you had the chance of playing on the records. How, and I know that people would want to know, how does that even start to be able to play on a record, example, Titanium, David Guetta, Sia? How do you even start to be able to have a riff like that actually gets in the hands of David Guetta?
It was pure luck, basically.
Right.
That studio where I cleaned the room.
Right.
One day, Akon was supposed to come to Canada, and his production partner would follow him around the world, everywhere. And for some reason, they were supposed to come to the studio to work. Not with me, just work in a room, and the studio happened to be that room. And Akon didn't end up showing up. It was just his buddy, his production partner. So he came in, set up, and he's another super introverted, very focused dude. And I just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna stay here as long as they're there. I'm just gonna sleep here. I don't care. Like,
Good move.
yeah. And so I just stayed in the studio. Whenever they were there, I was there.
Okay, let me stop you right there. When you say that things were an accident, you are proving to me and proving to everybody else that there is no accident in your career. You made a conscious decision to say, I need to be here. This is not a time for me to leave. I wasn't invited to this party, but I'm coming to this party and I'm going to be part of the party in a big, big, big way. Am I not right?
You're absolutely right. But, or and,
and.
I learned this trick recently on social media.
I like the...
But it's
and?
a yes and.
Yeah.
Instead of yes, but. The luck part
Yes.
is that dude was even there in the first place. He could have chosen any other studio.
Sure.
Just happened to be in that studio.
Sure.
So at that point.
You created that luck, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're in the studio. You say, I'm going to stick around. I don't care if I'm going to sleep here. As long as this person's here, I want this person to know that my presence is shown. So what happens?
So he starts working on music and he doesn't talk to me at all.
He's working with another engineer.
He's
that's
working
there.
with an engineer and himself, and he's looking that way. And I'm
So you're just
there.
sitting there.
Yep.
no, I mean I'm in another room.
You're hovering.
Exactly.
In case somebody calls out and maybe needs something.
And sometimes I go to the bathroom, sometimes I go outside, but I kind of always pass by.
Yep.
And then at one point, he actually played something with a bunch of guitar in it. And I was like, oh, that sounds really good. I love the guitar in there. And by the way, I'm a guitar player. If you ever need guitar, I'm just in the room next door.
There's the window.
Just drop
Yeah.
it.
There's the window.
Yeah. And he goes, okay, cool. Get lost. And then he didn't say get lost. He's like actually the most polite and nice person I've ever met. And he's actually like, this guy is a total gem. I still know him now.
To this
I don't know
day.
how many years later, but anyways. And so he goes, let me hear your stuff. So I play him some music. I was like, okay, cool. Let's exchange numbers. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. Give him my number. So then nothing happens. He just took my number and he bounced. And then fast forward, 6 months to a year later. I happen to be in LA just because we're shooting a video. And back in the day, like now I always travel with a guitar and my rig and stuff. But back in the day, I wasn't a producer. I was literally just trying to be a producer and mostly a guitar player. And I was there. We're shooting a music video for another artist. I'm not even there to shoot the video. I'm just there, kind of helping out and whatever. Just I'm not doing much, honestly.
Is this still with the same label?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, the person we're shooting the video with is underage. Like she's
okay.
so basically I'm there kind of as a chaperone type thing. Dude calls me and he's like, hey, I'm in Vancouver. We're in a studio and we're working on this song. And we thought of you to play some guitars on it. Are you available right now? And I'm like,
He knows you're in Montreal, right? Because he doesn't know you're in LA right now. He knows you're in Montreal.
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm available. He's like, okay, cool. Can you send it back in 2 hours? Because like we're here now and we're almost done, but we thought, yeah, maybe a guitar solo on this would be great. I'm like, okay, cool. Talk to you in 2 hours. And I hang up. And then I'm like, I don't have a car. I don't have a studio. I don't have a guitar. I don't have anything.
Right.
I'm just like there randomly. So I just looked online and I called up just the most random studios. And I was like, I need an engineer and a guitar. He's like, yeah, I have a guitar and I can track you. So I'm like, all right, great. I borrowed my buddy's car, drove to the studio, did the thing, sent it back. They never used it. But they saw I delivered. And and it's like, I didn't ask for any money. I just sent it.
Yep.
And like, thanks. And didn't use it and whatever. That was that. But they saw that, like, I did it. So then the dude asked me, oh, by the way, you know, we're working on this record. If you have any ideas, like, you know, loops and whatever, just send them our way. And they ended up, you know, using some of the stuff that I sent. And this is how I sort of got into that relationship. But it wasn't like just like instant, you know, it was a lot of long shots.
Of course.
Him even calling me back is
right.
really impressive, in my opinion, because people lose your number or they don't call you or they don't remember your name or whatever. Like this dude was special.
You know, we've had conversations with other artists and musicians, you know, about compensation, about kind of the industry, you know, taking them for what they're worth. When you're creating these tracks and you're sending it to him, is there any part of you that's thinking, if they use it, about compensation, or are you just hoping to get like the foot in the door?
Yeah,
back then.
Yeah, back then.
Foot in the door, totally. There's this movie called American Gangster with Denzel Washington, and there's a line in there that he's talking about is drugs, but that applies to anything. He's like, I have a product that's twice as good as anybody else, and I'm selling it for half of what anybody else is selling it. In my mind, I don't care. I just want to be on the record. It's never been about how much you're going to pay me for the session. Obviously, I don't want to get taken advantage of.
Right.
So it's like, we'll figure the money out.
Sure.
And I don't want to be taken for a ride. But it never came as like, how much am I going to get paid, or am I going to get paid?
Right.
What I want is, if I do something on the track, I want to be credited.
Yeah.
I want to be like just baseline.
Thank you.
Credited.
Yeah.
Because if a track plays or if a track is out, let's say you didn't get paid. Now that would suck. But you can use that because it's relevant.
It's kind of leverage to the next gig, sort of.
Yeah, because it's your name on a track is relevance for your peers. And if you get publishing, then that's a form of payment. And if you don't get publishing, but you just play, you get neighboring rights, which is another form of payment. Obviously, you always want to get paid. But I don't think I've ever asked for money instead, like, upfront. I never said, this is my price, take it or leave it. And it's always like, yes, I'll do the gig. And
yes, and
we'll figure out the money later.
Now, when you're stating that, are you talking about way back when or now? That's how you operate.
Still now. I mean,
but would you do that back then? You wouldn't even think about, like, you want to get your foot in the door. So you're not talking about money. You just want to get credit. But now you're working with a group of people that you obviously probably have a little bit more faith in, people that you've developed relationships with and connections, right? That you don't need to worry about compensation. You know that they're going to be taking care of you.
No, but let's be clear. I've never not gotten paid. Maybe that's not true. Maybe no. Yeah, there might some like very rare instances where I didn't get paid, but I always got compensated for my work.
Right.
What I mean by that is I don't come in with the expectation of money.
That's not on the forefront of your idea.
Because there's always something to be worked out. If it's not money, it's something else. But it's going to be something.
Right.
I've always gotten paid, but I've never really led with that.
So you're working with Akon's producer, not necessarily for Akon's project. That's a super huge call. From there, like, I'm curious, who was the call that you got that you went like, oh shit, like, this is like a big name, this is a big project for me?
I know exactly, like, so every step is like an incremental step in your career or whatever. But there's one, you know, it's funny, like Tim Ferriss, he says like about networking, like most of the networking he's done like in the first year of his professional career. And it's this guy that that I met in Montreal that called me back. We developed this relationship. Like we've done the Titanium song together plus other songs. But at that point, I'm still like just like this rando guy in Montreal. Like I go to LA sometimes like just to, dip my toe, but nothing more. And at one point, the really big like thing is that he goes, "Oh well, David Guetta has he has houses all around the world, and one of them is in Ibiza." And he goes, every year he does a writing camp in Ibiza, so you should come and at the camp. And at that camp, I met I think it's 5 writers that are like amongst the top writers on earth.
Who was there? Pooh Bear?
No, it was Jason Evigan. Yeah, I should name them because they're incredible. Jason Evigan, who has killed the game. He's produced for and wrote for everyone, like really like gigantic #1 hits. Sean Douglas, Sam Martin, Brayon Isaac. And so those were the sort of the core. And then there was this guy, Thomas, and I'm blanking out on his last name because it's like a Swedish last name, and but whatever. But he was also incredible. But anyways, these 4 guys are in their own lane, like absolutely incredible, and have like proven 10 times over how good they are. And I met them all that week or that few weeks or whatever, how long it was. And then the thing that was incredible is that David also has like a private jet. And what he does is that he has like a residency in Ibiza in clubs, but he also plays in Europe everywhere. So he had the writers. We would go to a club in Ibiza. Next day, you jump on the plane. You go to Sweden. You do a gig. You write in a hotel, you record on the plane, fly to Stockholm, do the same shit, fly to Estonia, fly to bum, bum, bum. Just like
just another day.
Yeah.
How long were you doing this for?
I guess it was, probably like a week and a half or whatever. Like I don't remember the exact length, but it was a trip. It was awesome, and I got to meet these guys that were incredible.
They're all at the top of their game.
Yeah, like you walking into that situation and you're seeing these industry titans. What are you thinking to yourself? Are you like, yeah, I absolutely belong here, or is there any part of you that's kind of freaking out?
No, I was completely freaking out. To tell you the truth, the only place in life where I've always felt that I belong is on stage. And that's why you say that I come out as a different person. So just because I feel completely at home. So, and that's why it was so hard when that incident with Orson happened, because the only place that I was comfortable vanished. In the studio, I'll be very honest, I've never felt at home at all, and never felt like I belong. The only thing that I do with guitar stuff that makes me comfortable is the fact that I do it all myself. It's the people call me, I do it, I send it back. So the trial and error, the editing, the fucking around or whatever is all done behind closed doors.
Do you send out a couple of different versions, and how many versions do you actually like make the cutting room floor? Basically, how long does it actually take you to be able to like bring a song or bring a riff to a level where you're like, yep, this is presentable, now I can send this off? And how many versions do you actually send off?
It really varies. What I did, I can tell you what I did this morning and last night, because I actually worked on a song this morning. So these guys sent me a song. It was actually like tuned in a weird key. Like the sample that was used was like not
in pitch,
properly in pitch. So I put it in pitch, And so that gave me the idea, oh, I could record that in 3 different keys and see if I come up with different ideas in 3 different keys. So and then play in one key, just came a bunch of ideas, play another key, some ideas, play another key, some ideas. And then I bounce all of those ideas into the right key, the key of the song. And then...
Interesting. Very interesting.
But because the thing is, an instrument, you have reflexes. If
you play in a certain position,
Yeah.
you're going to have the reflex to play more with your pinky. You play in a different position, you play more with your forefingers. So that's an absolutely amazing technique of actually learning how to create and then transposing it back into its regular key and coming up with something you would have never come up with in the original key. That's fascinating.
Some songs are just one pass.
Right.
And it's super quick. And some songs, especially if it's like a new person I'm working with, because the thing is, the most time you spend with a person, the more you know what they want to hear.
Right.
And if it's a new person, I kind of don't know what they want to hear.
Right.
So I tend to do more that's needed. And I don't know if that's good or not, because in a way, like, let's say, because now I'm a musician sending stuff to a producer, but I always try to think as a producer. Like, and my only goal essentially is to make the song better, and 2, to make the producer sound better and look better. If I kill myself to make the thing look or sound amazing, it's going to make them sound amazing.
Sure.
And then they're going to call me back.
Just comes right back full circle for you. Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean,
that's the idea.
That's the perfect way to actually go about it and to think about how you're supposed to be writing or collaborating with other people. And these people are calling you because they know it will make them sound better. You hire session musicians 99% of the time. Myself as a producer, I will always hire outside sources because I know it's going to make me look good. Totally. Because I know that it's going to sound great, and there's not going to be any question to the people that I'm hiring. I know what they're going to bring to the table. I want somebody to come in that can outplay me, outthink me. I want somebody to be able to like come in and just make me look like $1 million. So that's why you get the call.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that.
Yeah, let's hope so.
You know? So now fast forward a little bit. You've been playing on records for Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, Sia. Like now at one point, do you ever ask yourself, hey, why don't they call me to go on the road? I'd like to do that gig too, since I'm playing guitar on all these songs. Wouldn't that be cool?
You know what's crazy? And there's videos of this somewhere on the internet. Yanni is my partner in the project Chiiild. Back in like 2016 or whatever, we were producing a bunch in LA, just for a bunch of artists. We met this young girl, Dua Lipa, and we
young girl.
No, but she was
unheard of.
No, she was
unheard of.
She
back
was completely unheard. She was a complete unknown at the time. She had one video out of 200,000 views.
Views, yeah.
And that's it. She didn't have any. She maybe had one song out.
Sure.
But maybe not. Maybe it was only out on YouTube, not on Spotify.
Prior or after Rules? Because I know that song really kind of
no. It's like
off.
way before.
Okay.
I mean, well, maybe like a year before or whatever.
Okay.
But in her career, at that age, that's like you're ancient if you're like 2 years older.
Right.
But so, and essentially, long story short, that's exactly what I said. Hey, maybe I should play with Dua live and shit. And I did I did some press touring with her, and then I did like YouTube spots and just like some performances where, let's say she was singing for like showcases or whatever. Not showcases, but like it was a showcase, I guess.
Just showcase or promotional tours.
Yeah. The thing is, that's great, but that's a completely different career. And I don't know that that's the path that I want to go, that I want to take. Because, and not, again, it's the same, goes back to the same concept as before. It's like, there's somebody out there that's better than me to do that. Now, could I have done that gig and follow her everywhere? Of course. Yeah, I could have completely do it. The thing that I have a hard time dealing with when you're a touring musician is that people can call you and go, oh, tour's off, because just that's what it is. See ya. And then you lost like a bunch of gigs. But I just felt like my place in the world is more of a, I kind of want to trace my own path. Now, that doesn't mean I can't play with like an artist live. But if I had a choice to make, which at some point I had to, I was playing with a bunch of artists. Basically, at one point, I had the visualization of like, okay, so what if I get to like the absolute top of that field? Is that where I want to be? And the answer was no. It's like if I play with Beyonce live across the world, like Beyonce is an incredible artist. That tour is probably, I don't know, probably the best tour on earth. Because she's
one of the biggest, for sure.
Incredibly famous. She's going to do a world tour. Conditions for musicians and whoever's on the staff are probably incredible. You're going to see the world. You're going to play everywhere. The stadiums. Wouldn't you want to do that? And honestly, no, I don't think I would want to do that. Because I think it would, because you're gone. And by being gone, I mean, you can still kind of produce on the road and write and do, there's still a bunch of things you can do on the road, but it's just like you're completely devoting your time to this one person.
Right.
And the person that gets all the spoils of that tour is Beyonce. Now that might sound stupid to some people, but honestly, I would, and I'm not Beyonce, right? But I would rather be the artist, even on a smaller scale, than to be the person that works for the artist. Now, in studio, to me, that's different. But live, there's a component of like traveling. It just like takes a lot of time.
A lot of energy too.
A lot of, out of your day. Doesn't mean that it's a bad gig. It's actually, and I know people that have incredible livings.
Right.
Just touring the world with artists and they're super happy. This wasn't for me.
Personally, I'm happy that you're actually not on the road because you're able to develop albums like Better Luck in the Next Life from your band Chiiild. Chiiild. In case anybody's watching, you need to buy this record. I have been playing it nonstop in my car for the past 3 months.
Wow, crazy. Thanks.
I am not streaming it on Spotify. If I could buy it more than I bought it on iTunes, I would buy it more times. I think I've shared it, actually. I bought it and shared it with other people because I honestly think that record's a masterpiece.
God damn, thank you.
Listen, it has textures, and I like the fact that you're not trying to like throw things up at the wall to see what sticks. There is a sound, there's a texture, there's a vibe, there's a resonance that happens throughout that whole record. There's a continuity between every song, like all the way through, and I'm not skipping through songs.
Damn. Well,
So thank you for not going back on stage and playing with other people, but going back on stage just with Chiiild and just be able to create this project. What has this been like? You were able to perform on Jimmy Kimmel. How was that actually done? So you actually did the video performance for that and they aired it on the show. Like, how was that? How did that come about?
Because it was during COVID.
Right.
So they didn't have in-studio performances because it wasn't allowed.
Right.
So
I forgot how long ago it was.
Yeah, it was in 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
Performance.
So it was a year and a half ago.
Right. Great. So you have an awesome PR that works for you, that got you on the show. How does something even get submitted like that? Because at this time, you have a relatively small following, but obviously it got into the right hands of somebody that has taste.
I think that's really just, well, yeah, I think honestly it comes down. Okay. I don't know how I got it.
There's the answer.
But I'm gonna assume that it's from taste and relationships. Yeah.
It's really funny as we continue to talk about your life, like you're doing what you love and you're doing what makes you passionate, but the overlying theme is, I have no idea how this is successful.
But there is always a story, and there is a divide that happens between you going, I don't know what I'm doing, to I know exactly what I'm doing. And I find that that's a very humbling aspect that you have on your own career, that you're able to sort of take, and it's a sort of innocent way of looking at it and going, I just do what I do. I just play guitar and this is what I do. But there's a very, very calculated way to how you conduct business and how you deal with things. There's nothing haphazard about how anything has happened to you in your career. Is there any advice that you would give to a young aspiring artist, and not to just go on luck, but what is one of the key ingredients do you believe that you possess and that you've done that has helped you to be able to develop these relationships and to actually be able to play with some of the biggest artists in the world?
There's a few really, really key things. And you're right. I'm a very kind of deliberate person. And I always shoot my shot. But I shoot a lot more shots that score some goals.
We were talking about this. Right?
Like,
that's one.
Yeah,
Shoot your shots.
I'm very, very, very curious. And so here's a few of the advice that I picked up along the way that I could give to other people that I feel changed my life. One thing I heard Mark Cuban say, whenever everybody's looking right, try to look left. So whenever there's a whole industry, and again, no judgment, I actually love everything, like pop music and everything. But if everybody's like making, let's say, trap, not to shit on trap, love trap. But if everybody's making trap, just try to look the other side and see
what's missing.
What's not being done. And I love music. I adore music.
I should hope so.
And I go back and I listen to all the eras of music. And the thing is, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so it's like,
I like that.
You will find stuff from other eras that was super popular that are completely absent today. Right. So one thing that we do in Chiiild that is completely absent today, that I almost can't believe that nobody does it anymore, but everybody used to do it back in the day, with really big, like, luscious string intros before every Sam Cooke song and and they had nothing to do with the song. It was just like, yo, here I am, bang, and then song starts. So on every album we have that, and nobody does it. So that's one thing. Try to look left when everybody looks right. Second thing, which is definitely the most important thing, is at the beginning of the day or the day before, try to come up with what's the most important thing I could do tomorrow to go to where I want to be. And so first thing is to know where you want to go. And that sounds trivial, but like some people don't know exactly where they want to go. So let's say your goal is to write a hit song, whatever. Okay, so what is the thing that I could do tomorrow that would bring me closer to that hit song? And what is a hit song? You know, is it a hit on Spotify? Is it a hit on TV? Is it a hit for Montreal? Is, you know, whatever. Try to narrow it down, write it down, and then at the end of the day, what was good about your day that brought you further, and what could you have done better? The thing is,
Love that.
I think that's the thing that is made the biggest difference in my life. It's just like at the end of the day, trying to like sit down and for a minute try to like come up with some answers as to what didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go. Okay, fine. That's okay. It's just you don't have control over everything.
Yep.
Just try to deconstruct it and try to find why. Try to find next time.
So you got receipts. You're keeping receipts of all the failures and all of the
Bro,
things that went.
I wish I had it with me. But I have a journal. In which every day I journal, and every night I could show you like the receipts because my journal is filled with it. And then maybe the next thing I would say is there's a concept called 80-20. It's I don't know. I'm sure people have seen it like 1,000 million times on the internet. The thing is, I don't think people apply it.
No, they don't.
So this is something that I did in my own career. It's extremely scary. But at one point, I was playing with all these artists that I didn't think maybe he doesn't have the right strategy or the right songs, the right this or the right that. And I looked at everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to cancel all of it and just keep these like 2 gigs. And so for a moment, it's very scary, but you only have like 2 gigs. But those 2 gigs make the bulk of your thing, and then you can build on that. And it was funny because when you're young, you don't make that much money. And money is an interesting topic because it's kind of like a cliche topic sometimes when you work in music, because
Sure.
if you want to make money or talk about making money, then people think it's going to affect the music, and it might, Anyways, I showed my the accountant, like let's say 1 year I had like, let's say this amount, and then the next year I had like, I think it was half of it or like a third or whatever.
Right.
It was like a huge dip. The guy went like, what'd you do?
Right.
Like, and I said, I canceled all my gigs. He's like, were you fucking insane?
Right.
Like, but the thing is, I knew that it wasn't like where I wanted to go.
Right.
So the 80-20 is more about like focusing on the things that are really going to like feed you.
Yeah, absolutely. You should apply that concept to your career. So it's like, okay, well, if I write 10 songs, most likely 2 of them are going to be better than all the rest.
Right.
And so let's say you want to write a 10-song album. Well, you need to write, a shit ton of songs.
A lot of songs.
Yeah, you need to write 50 songs.
Yeah.
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 Kind of comes back to shooting your shot though. Like the more chances that you take, the more opportunities that you might have.
Yeah, but it's not like so shooting your shot doesn't mean spray and pray. It's
Right.
it's not like just shooting
Random.
across, like-
That's what I said about the album Chiiild. It doesn't sound like you were just throwing stuff up at the wall and seeing what would stick. There was
Intentional.
There was a conscious, intentional direction. That's the corner I'm going to shoot for, and I might not hit that corner, but I'm going to slap shot, and I'm going to slap shot again. But there's an intention.
This is probably one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me. And the reason why is that I've struggled for so long to just have a sound. Just like trying to have a sound as a musician. And because when I started producing, I would try to sound like this guy and that guy and that girl and whoever artist. And the fact that you tell me that this thing has a sound and it has a personality is like,
Oh yeah. There's really nothing out there that starts and ends like this record. And even the singles, back in the day, songs used to fade out, right? That was that was the thing. Your songs do this thing where you think it's on its way out, and it's like, no, the story's not over. We're still riding, we're still riding this cloud, You know, stick around, see where this goes. It's about to open up. It's about to open up, and the sun's about to come through. That's how I feel when I'm listening to this record. I'm so proud to listen to this record and to know that it's someone that I know and that I care for that has taken part in creating this masterpiece. And I'll say it. I think it's a masterpiece.
God damn.
It's a great sounding record.
Yeah.
And it's a great sounding record. Who mixed that record? Because I never...
this guy, John Kersey, is a beast. Shout out to John Kersey. This guy...
John, thank you.
He's... So he's D Miles' partner. And, man, John is... Okay, one thing about John that he does incredibly well. Every time you're in a room, there's always somebody. Okay, so this is total advice for anyone out there in music. If you're in a room and you have a job, you should just do that job and not try to do any other job. Because not that you can't do it. Like if somebody says, "Yo, can you produce?" Yeah, I can produce.
Sure.
Yeah, go do it.
Yeah.
But don't try to produce if you're the guitar player. And John,
thank you,
wants to mix. That's all he wants to do. That's all he does.
Right.
And he's fucking good at it.
Right. You have collaborations with Charlotte Cardin on it. Just how do you even get people involved, knowing that you need somebody else in the picture when you're doing a record like that, and saying, you know what, I think we need a female singer on this, and maybe this is a duet. But let's invite some people, and you do that on quite a few songs. So how do you even go about going in that direction, and when does that happen?
I mean, the thing with Charlotte, that was completely different. We had a song, we figured, wow, she would sound good on it. She happened to be in LA, and since we're friends, we just told her, come to the studio. Or well, first of all, we sent her the song. She said, I like it. She came to the studio. She's an amazing talent. So she came in, laid the vocal parts, and that was it. Simple. It was a phone call. It wasn't going through management or anything. We just called her because we were friends. However, it doesn't always happen like that. The one thing you don't want to do, which sometimes happens and it's awful, and what you don't want to do is send the song out to a person that you want to feature, you want them to feature on it, then they send it back and you don't like what they did. That's really a position that you don't want to be in, because it's either like most of the time we leave it like a blank verse.
Interesting.
And then or a chorus, not a chorus, but like a blank verse. And so we tell whoever, sing your verse, and
unwritten.
Well, so most times unwritten.
You give them kind of free reign over
Totally.
that? Oh, wow. Okay.
So basically, if they're a true artist and you give them the part, I mean, they have to either be completely in love with the part or write their own part. And usually, I think it's better if they write their part. The thing is, that opens the door to you not liking what they wrote.
Right.
Which sucks.
Especially when they're friends.
Yeah. So I think the best way to actually do a collab is to go in a studio and write a song and produce the song with the person.
The whole time, like from the get-go?
Yeah. So then there's no expectation of it coming out. It's just an expectation of collaborating on a song. And then if you actually like the part, well, you can change the production, you can change the chords, you can change whatever. So it's a lot easier that way, to just like go in a studio with the person, write a song, and just kind of go on faith that the song is going to turn into something. Sending songs out for features, unless it's rappers is really easy to make a feature, but it costs a lot of money. Like, you know, it's like rappers, they always ask for like a pretty big upfront fee, you know.
So they're thinking about the money up front. Oh, look at that.
They are, yeah.
It's not about the art.
Why do you think they are versus other artists?
Because I think like part of that industry, it's more common for rappers to do features. It's it's easy for a rapper to do a feature. It's common for a rapper to have an open 16 bar and just like kind
Right.
of
Just go and
lay a
spit.
verse and then just
Yeah.
bounce
Yeah.
and do some ad libs and that's it. And they do great and they should
And they expect to get paid because that's what
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're in that genre. There's a bigger community of rappers going out and doing features, so
And-
it's kind of normal.
Don't get me wrong. We either pay, obviously, the features, like we always pay them, or something that's, in my opinion, a way more interesting and way more
Advantageous.
for both is that we swap. We do a song
Oh, okay.
for they do a song for us, we do a song for them, vice versa.
There you go.
So it's like you have 2 songs coming out
Yeah.
like that, and it's just more.
Are you potentially hitting different demographics?
Yeah, I mean, depending on who do you are, yeah, of course, yeah. That's a big part of it, and I think that's a better way to do it because one, it kind of shows also that I think the worst thing you can do. That's not the worst thing you can do because actually it could be successful, but one thing that doesn't look great is if your fan base or your fans feel like you did like somebody's just featured on your song because they got paid. That doesn't sit well with
Sure.
people because it doesn't feel authentic at all. It just feels like somebody showed up, took a check and then bounced, and it just taints the.
They like to feel
Material.
like there's a connection, like a human.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the story. Like, you want part of that dream, and sometimes that dream is actually like real life. You know, sometimes artists are friends and they make songs together, and those songs are dope. You don't want your favorite artist showing up on a track just because they got a check. I mean, that's
Right.
just doesn't feel cool.
This album is still relatively new. Are you still going to be supporting this
Very
record?
new.
Yeah. So I mean,
So it's like it hasn't been that long,
Right.
And we're going back on tour on August 22nd, supporting Tosh Sultana.
oh, awesome.
How long's the tour? We love her.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah, she's awesome.
So we're gonna be on our West Coast leg of the tour.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 2.5 weeks of like awesomeness.
Amazing.
Yeah. Then we're gonna write. We're already writing for the next project,
Of course. Yeah.
and then we're gonna go to Europe in January. And then who knows? Maybe new music at that time will come out or not. You don't know.
I hope. I'm still playing that record, so you can take your time for the next record because it takes a lot, to take in. And I advise anybody to go out and buy this record. Better luck in the next life. My son heard the title and he was listening to the lyrics, and his exact words next to me was, "This is a little dark."
And the metaphor there, it has to do with, well, it can apply to anyone,
Right.
but and to any situation. But for us specifically, it was about moving to LA. It's about you have your life here, you jump to the next life, and you hope that the next life is going to be
Even better.
than the
Even
one
more
you had
awesome.
here. So it's kind of like, it could be applied to a relationship, could be applied to whatever you're leaving to find. But you use the metaphor of death and stuff, but it's
It's actually, there's a positive spin.
yeah,
on it.
totally, yeah.
Well, I believe that my life is better for knowing you
Damn.
Aw.
and being part of your journey, because a win for you, I truly believe, is a win for all of us, because you're representing, my friend.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, to be also fully transparent, one of my life goals, and that involves everyone here and everyone at home, is to create a creative bridge between LA and Montreal. And so when you say you're representing, that's the second nicest thing somebody's ever said to me, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Let's go. Let's go. I love that. Thank you, Pierre-Luc Rioux, for being on this humble little podcast show we call home.
Thank you for inviting me.
My God, dude.
And by the way, the respect is mutual. So
Thank you, my
Wow, the
friend.
nicest thing we've heard today.
It's the nicest thing we've heard today. Thank you very much for joining us. Catch us next time on Basebin TV.